going to be working on a 2002 2.3 liter manual transmission Ford Ranger. Backstory here is that I drove it home from practice one evening, ran fine, get home. Next morning, boyfriend goes to start it. There's a loud bang, it sounds like a backfire, and then the engine just starts running really rough. Really terrible. I think it even stalled or tried to stall. So we do some diagnosing, think it's probably a vacuum leak. Our short-term fuel trim and long-term fuel trim were both a little bit high upon starting, but within 30 seconds we had some engine surging and idle, and then the long-term fuel trim kind of equalized and the short-term went way through the roof. So we decided probably a vacuum leak, and we sprayed some carb cleaner around while it was running and thought we detected a leak at the injector, the fuel injector number 1 on the first cylinder, and decided that we should replace the O-rings. So we tore it all apart. I tore it all apart, replaced the O-rings, we put it all back together. Same problem, actually even a little bit worse. So today I tore it all apart again just to make sure that those O-rings were on there properly and that all of the fuel injectors were seated nicely, and they were, and I cleaned up the bore holes that the injectors go in. Put all of it back together again, crossed my fingers, and same as it ever was. So I think I have figured out the problem. Cross your fingers with me, we shall see. And here we go. Let's tear it all apart again. This is time number 3 in 2 days, so I feel like I can probably show you all how to do it without sounding like too much of a fool. And yeah, so here we go. All right, we haven't done anything yet except for this little cover right here was already off. You're falling over there, bud. Alright, this little cover was already off. There's a couple, I think they're 8mm bolts. Just take out and pull that off. Alright, then we're going to loosen this hose clamp and this hose clamp with a flathead screwdriver and detach this plug and this vacuum line and unclip these clips here. There it goes. Okay, and then we're also going to take out this bolt, which is an 8mm. And at some point, to be safe, we're going to disconnect the battery here. I think that's also an 8mm on the negative and positive cables. Alright, now with those all out of the way, we are just going to tug on this a little bit and tug on this a little bit and get that out of there. Let's pull that off. And then pull this off. And this whole doohickey comes out. Alright, air intake is out. The hose and the cable are just set out of the way. Now we're going to take everything off. So let's unplug this and that. It's going to be like Oprah. Everything gets unplugged. We're going to pull out this. We're going to pull off this. We're going to take this off right here. We're going to take this bracket off. We're going to take the throttle cable off. So we're just going to start pulling stuff. But we'll start with, let's see, throttle body and these guys here, up there. All right, for the throttle cable, that just has a little ball. So pull it off sideways, pry it off with a screwdriver. Then these have little butterfly wings, and you just push them together and force that through. And if you can't do it with your fingers, you can use a flathead screwdriver or a pair of pliers or whatever have you. Pull that through and just lay it somewhere aside. We will get to that later. Let's see, let's take off this right here. You're going to need a pair of pliers, or if you're really strong like Princess is, you can just squeeze it, pull that back. Alright, so we pulled that back and we're just going to pull it off. Cool. Alright, let's do this next. Do I have a flashlight? Alright. That and that. Vacuum line and electrical connector. Just pull them straight back. Alright, so I've pulled those off. Man, this thing does not like to focus. That's what it looks like. Those things off. Let's pull this one out. It's a lot easier to do this when you're not holding a phone. Oh, I want some tools. Okay, let's pull this guy out. So there's a little clip right there to press down, and you just pull up and the whole thing comes up. Alright, so that's now off of there. It just slid into that bracket right there. While we're down here, we can pull off this cable. This is the one that goes out the side of that. Okay, and we can pull out this one right there. That connects to the fuel rail. Okay, let's take off this bracket here. 10mm bolts. 1, 2, and then 1 right under there. So I'm just using a 10mm socket with an extension to get these bolts out. There's 3 of them. Super long. Alright, once those bolts are out, this will just slide off. You have to wiggle it around a little bit to get it out. There's your bracket. From here, we're going to go down here. I don't know if you can see. Here's my good flashlight. Down there. Down there. See that bolt right there? This one, let's see if I can hold 3 things at once. That bolt. You're going to take that bolt out. Don't know how you can see that, but I've just got my 8mm ratchet wrench. And I can get in here and twist it out by hand. And you can just leave everything else just kind of hanging. There's the bolt. While we are here, there is a clip that holds this in place. You can pull it straight out. You don't have to detach it from itself. Just pull it out of its little housing there where it clips onto the manifold. Okay, and then we'll come underneath the whole thing. Alright, so there is this bundle of wires attached to this. If you follow it under, you will find a point under the manifold. You can't see it. It's attached with a little clip. Pull it out. You want to do this now rather than later. Trust me. Alright. Looks like that. That little white clip. Okay. From here, let's pull this one out. Up there. Same little white kind of clip. Up under there we have an electric plug. You can't see that. Alright, right there. There's an electric plug right there. You just squeeze it and it unclips. And right next to it is a vacuum line that needs to come off. Vacuum line is on that side. See it? Right on the right there. Alright, those are unplugged. Now there is a little bolt right there. I can get you in there a little better. Right there. 8mm. Take it. Well, 8mm bolt, and just pull it out so you can freehand it and spin it on out. Little bolt. Put that up there. Alright, and then we're going to do these two. These are back to 10mm. So there's a 10mm bar and extension. If you're having trouble, you can always take off that gas line first or unclip it from there, or both. And we'll do that one next, just so you know how to do it. Alright, that is now off, detached. We're going to take this fuel line out. So step 1, pull that out of the hole there. So it's under there, you just pull it straight down. And then you get this doohickey You can buy it at any auto parts store. It usually comes in a pack with a bunch of them. Find the one that fits right. And let's see. Trying to find a good angle for you guys to see. Alright, so with this part out of where it was up in there, just pull it out, and then this clips over it. Right there, and you're just going to push up. There is going to be gasoline, so be ready to pull this straight up and prevent the flow from pouring all over you and everything you love and your engine and everything. So push in, and once you hear that click, you can just pull up and pull it off. Ugh, and get gasoline all in your face. I did tell you there's going to be gasoline, right? All right. Whew. And then just tuck that somewhere. I like to tuck it behind. Well, I'll show you. These guys have made friends. I've just tucked it behind that vacuum line right there. All right, we now have the fuel line off of the fuel rail. Now, going from memory, I think that is everything, but we will find out real soon if it's not, before we start pulling bolts out of this intake manifold. Find a good viewpoint for you guys. All right, I'm getting it off. All right, there are 5 bolts. Bolt number 1. Can you guys even see this? Probably not. Bolt number 1 is down here, right up under there. Okay, try to give you a better angle so you don't even have to be able to see it. Just stick your socket down in there. That's bolt number 1. Take it off. Here we go. So, 10mm socket, extension. I like to put my hand up under there so I can catch it, not have to dig around under the vehicle when the bolt comes out. And bolt number 1. Bolt number 2, you can see it is right there. You guys see that on that video? Right there. I have to move the camera angle a little bit. Right there. See it? Alright, same thing with that one. Right, bolt number 3, you're going to have to go by feel. It is right there. So, same level as bolt number 1, obviously in the middle as opposed to the left or front side, right there. All right, bolt number 4, see if we can show you. Back in there, maybe. All right, you see where the extension is, extension bar, socket, that's bolt number 4. Right there, so you can just put it right through the last 2. Alright, I'm going to try to show you where bolt number 5 is without dropping my bar. Oh, it doesn't help with my hands in the way. Alright, you can get it straight on there. I've seen people take the wheel off, do all sorts of crazy fucking shit. Just go by feel. You're going to have to be on the right or back side of the ridge for the last intake. What do you call that? The intake manifold? The intake chamber? Whatever. No, the intake for number 4. Be on the cab as opposed to back, as opposed to the front side of it. You can get a bar on there and then just hook your tool on and do the same thing. I don't know how easy this will be to see, but just break it free. That. You can take the head off your tool. Whoa. Don't kill yourself with it. And then just unscrew it. Put your left hand down there to catch the bolt. It comes out. If you can't catch it, it's fine. It probably won't get hung up on anything. I can see gravel beneath me. Alright. Ta-da! There you go. So at this point, it should be loose. If it's not, you've forgotten to take something off. You should be able to, wiggle it around and all that good stuff. All right, it's a bit of a tight squeeze even with this bracket out. And that doohickey over here that we took the vacuum line off of and the little electrical port, it's part of the manifold, don't break it off. So we're gonna, real gentle, see if we can move it on up. You're gonna have to move all of these cables and such onto the far side of said doohickey so that it can clear it. Oops, try not to do that. Spill gasoline all over everything. I'm just clearing the way there. And then this should have room all the way up and out. Just gonna keep moving everything as you need to clear it. There we go. There we go. And she's out. All right, so here's our manifold. So I'm like looking from the, what would be the front of the car, truck. And see this right here? That should have a plug. And my theory is that that pop was this plug blowing out and subsequently acting like a vacuum, giving a really bad vacuum leak. So we are going to try to fix this, plug it up with something somehow. You guys are wondering what I did yesterday and earlier today. This is the fuel rail. It connects to the fuel injectors, and these are the clips that hold it on. So I just unclipped all 4 of these all the way back, and then you can pull this whole rail out. So undo that and that. What are those? 8mm? I should know this. I've done it 16 times. Yeah, 8mm bolts. So those come out. You can gently kind of rock and pull, and the whole thing comes out along with the injectors. So I pulled all those out. I pulled them off the rail. They've got these little retaining clips. If you put a screwdriver in one side and get that side off, you can kind of rock them out sideways. Put new O-rings on all of them, front and back. Put some oil around it to lube it up a little bit, shoved them all back in there, pressed the fuel rail back firmly until it clicked, and bolted it back down, and then put everything back together again. I did that twice because I thought it was the issue at first, and then I thought I did it wrong, and that maybe one of them wasn't seated properly, and that's why it was an issue again. So I'm getting to be a bit of an expert at this. Hopefully I don't have to do it again anytime soon. That hole in the manifold that is plugged sits right about here, down here somewhere. So it's not accessible when the vehicle is running, but on other vehicles it is, and you can just like slide your hand up to it and cover it and see if that fixes the issue. But we're having to take the whole damn thing apart, try to plug it up and put it all back together the 3rd time. So hopefully that's what it is, and I will report back and let you all know how that fix works. Found this plug. It was way too long. It is a hex-ended brass female with 1/4-inch threads from AutoZone.
O'Reilly's.
From O'Reilly's. AutoZone carries them too. And as you can see, it is too long. So if you shove it on in there, this is how much we're going to have to take off the end so that the head here sits against the flush against the manifold. Should we add a do not try this at home clause? Man, that's hot. Very warm. Alright, we'll stick this in here and see how it looks. So I have cleaned out this hole, and we have our much shorter little brass fitting, and we have our RTB sealant. I'm not going to try to do this with the phone, but I'm just going to put some in and around here. Alright, so plug is in the hole. We lined the thread side of the plug and then the inside of the manifold, the hole, with this, and shoved it through. Had to clean up a little bit on the inside. Ooh, let me hit you with that. On the inside right there. Cleaned it up pretty well. It was gooping through. And then we coated the outside with an absolute crazy amount of it. So hopefully it won't go anywhere. And now we are going to let it cure overnight, and then we'll come back and put the whole thing back together.